Hello everyone, this is Rick Tobin again, talking about some hints to help you along the way. And this particular presentation is about how to reduce your electric bill during this cold season. And this won't be the last one by any means. This cold front that we just had come through in December in 2022 is just one of many to come, and the cold winters that are going to be facing us in the future. This is nothing new. It's happened before in cycles before. And those of us from the 1966 area remember crawling out of our second story windows in North Dakota because the snow was covering everything for about 10 or 12 feet below us. So believe me, there's lots of cold to come yet, and here's some ideas that'll help you. What do I know about cold? Well, let me share something with you. See this shirt? That's North Dakota. Yes, that's where I grew up. I know about cold, and I lived also in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And I also work for a utility company. So let me get some ideas real quickly, some things you can do. And those of us who are oldsters or who grew up in the North know about this, but a lot of younger folks don't know about these things. So let's get right down to it. First thing is you need to cut down on the temperature in your house or your apartment. I'm not going to deal with RVs and with motorhomes because those are basically ice boxes. And that's a whole different story. This is mainly for those people who live in houses and apartments right now. So, how low do you need to put it to get those bills way down? And I can tell you, when my wife was still with me before she passed in August, our electric bills in this apartment were almost $300 a month. Last month, I got them down, and it was still getting cold. I got them down to around $40. With this huge cold front that just came through, I got them down to about $74. And I know other people are having hundreds and hundreds of dollars for their small apartments. So here's what you can do. Lower that temperature. You can do it. Put on warmer clothes. Wear slippers. Wear warm socks. Put on sweaters. Drop it down to 68. 68, oh my gosh. Previous generations lived in lots colder conditions than that. You can handle it. Now, you may not like it, but you can handle it. Next thing you want to think about is, do I want to really use my central heating system? If you have a lot of rooms in your house during one of these cold spells that you're not using, close them off, close off the vents to those rooms, and just use the heating in a small area that you're going to be using most of the day. That can be an area around your kitchen or around where your video presentations are, your TV screens, whatever, and wherever you want to keep your animals also warm. What about your floors? You go, oh, I don't have carpet. Get some low cost carpeting or lay down rugs that will keep you off of that floor. They don't cost that much. You can handle it. It's a lot cheaper than extremely high electric bills. And when it comes down to using electricity, my father, who was an electrician, used to say, I don't know why Americans have all these switches on their walls. They don't use them. When you leave a room, turn off the lights. If you're not using it, turn the lights off and use lower lights if you can, including the LEDs. So think about that in your operations. Run your washing machines, your dryers, and your dishwashers late at night. From 12 to 3 is the best. I know you're saying, oh my gosh, that's going to be a noise or I have to stay up late. You want to reduce your costs on electricity or not? You're going to have to make some sacrifices on timing too, and that means cooking. That electric oven, and please don't use it to heat your house. You can start a house fire doing that. Don't use your oven as a heating source for house warmth. No, it's made for cooking. So do your cooking in the middle of the night if you can, the major cooking, and that will help also reduce your rates. Now, as far as the loss of heating around your homes, use those long snakes that we used to use, those stuff. They were big stuffed socks that we used to put across the sliding glass windows and doors. And around your windows, if you've got poor circulation, if you don't have the double pane windows, which are wonderful, but in a lot of apartments, you're not going to have that, then you want to put socks and shielding around wherever you have openings potentially to open those windows in the middle area and on the sill itself. It doesn't hurt also, we used to do this in the old, keep the window shades closed, and if you can, and the supports will stand it, you can even drop a sheet or even plastic as an extra barrier to hold in the warmth. It does make a difference, believe me. Same thing for your doors in and out, putting socks or towels or those stuffy long snake things that they make, you can get on almost any place online to keep the drafts from coming in. It'll help a great deal. And for those rooms that you aren't heating, shut the vents off in the ceiling, seal them off. And God forbid you have a real fireplace, it's not going to heat your place that well. You know that. They're not really for comfort, not in these days. When I've had them, I've taken saran wrap and slowly but surely taped them shut all the way around so that the air doesn't go out. They'll just suck the heat right out of your house or your apartment. So if you're not using them on a regular basis or you don't have propane or gas going to them for electric purposes, they're really kind of useless. So keep them sealed off. Now, in the basis of how much you need to keep your children warm, I know, especially if you have babies or you have someone who's ill at home, you have to keep them warmer. You do the best you can. But in the areas that you're keeping warm, it's lower cost if you use, instead of using your large scale heating sources, use small ceramic heaters, use them safely, and use the oil heaters. Those are the ones that roll around and have the fins on them that look like the old water heaters from the old days. They're very efficient and they can put out a lot of gentle, reasonable warmth, but you have to keep them safe from children and pets. So that's one thing to consider. Anything that you use, there's always a trade-off one way or the other, but you've got to get these electric bills down because of the things that are happening now with the recession. Every cost that you look at is a consideration for what are we going to have for food, what are we going to have for rent, how can I reduce these big bills? So if you take some of those things into factor, wear more, cover your floors, seal the leaks, use electricity at the best times possible, and turn off those lights if you're not using them, it makes a big difference. And also, one little trick, you have vampires in your house. Oh my gosh, vampires. You have a lot of electrical equipment that you don't use very often, and yet it takes power to the transformers and the units inside of it all the time. They can be printers, they can be computers you don't use very often, they can be TV sets in rooms or LCD screens that you don't use very often. Unplug them. Don't just turn them off, unplug them. And when you need them, plug them back in and go from there. A lot of those take little bits of power all the time, and you're not using them. And how many electrical radios or CD players do you really need on when you're not using them? Turn them off. So that's a lot of things to do, but you can do it. And that temperature at 68 degrees, especially if you're not dealing with, like I said, people who are ill, extremely fragile, or babies and so forth, you can handle 68 degrees. Just put on more clothes and stay warm. Remember, you can make a difference. No reason to be fearful. Just be prepared. Do the best you can each day. Thanks for listening. Have a great one and get through this cold. Learn the best you can, and you'll make a difference on your billing, I guarantee you.